Folks, I told you I wasn't kidding when I said there were a lot of awesome releases in 2023, and we've got 10 more coming at you right now. If you missed out on any of these releases, what are you doing? At least get them on your wish list. And folks, we appreciate all you've done for I Dream of Indie Games throughout this year. Thank you for supporting independent content. Did you know we have a Patreon? If not, head on over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames to gain Discord access, exclusive live streams, a brand new podcast, ad-free early versions of shows, and so much more. Your community is waiting. Darkest Dungeon 2 was a game that lingered in early access for quite some time, but finally this year emerged in 1.0, and it seems like everybody, I Dream of Indie included, really enjoyed this game. With upgraded visuals, a brand new soundtrack, and even more strategic gameplay, Darkest Dungeon 2 features all of the grisly art and violence we've come to expect from this franchise. That said, in case you didn't know, these games are extremely difficult, and in fact, the sequel really ups the ante even harder than the original. If you're up for the challenge though, Darkest Dungeon 2 belongs in your collection. Hope you're hungry for another great indie release from this year, because the next one is Dr. Fetus's Mean Meat Machine, clearly a play on Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine back in the day, also being a puzzle game in the Puyo style. A lot of people actually shit on this game, and I'm not quite sure why, because I found it to be a really addicting, beautiful looking puzzle game. Well, define beautiful. Gruesomely beautiful, I guess you could say. But much like the game that I just talked about, Darkest Dungeon 2, this one puts up a really tough challenge. It has all the traps that you've come to expect out of the Meat Boy franchise, but that one more time factor still exists as well, which kept me playing over and over again. Great bosses, very creative puzzles, just a unique, cool twist, and a fun little puzzle game that I feel like got overlooked. Next up, we have a really impressive sequel that delivered. It delivered on all of its promises, if you ask me. This was one of the big videos here at I Dream of Indie Games this year. Blasphemous 2, from a publisher that really released a lot of outstanding games in 2023, Team 17. Our very own Ophidian Mind called this a stunning achievement and one of the best indie games he had ever played in our full review. The gorgeous pixel art, new cutscenes, which I personally think look great, incredible soundtrack, and this fascinating world all come together to create a wonderful indie gaming experience in a year that was full of them. This one still manages to stand out, and the gameplay and tight controls are ever so present. But while maybe not quite as tough as the original, still expect the challenge. That seems to be a theme so far, difficult games on this list. Blasphemous 2 is an excellent sequel for those that can stomach it, and belongs in your collection, no questions asked. Moving right along, this is a game that I really expected to be pretty good, but I didn't know it would be quite as good as it actually ended up being, and that game is Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, which is a lovingly crafted tribute to the classic from Sega Jet Set Radio. From the skating around, to the graffiti, to the funky fresh beats playing as you skate around, I loved pretty much everything about this game. The amazing visuals, the performance was excellent on the PC, but what's really nice about Bomb Rush Cyberfunk is that it's really easy for almost anyone to pick up and play and get hooked on. There's a lot of gameplay hours here, and, perhaps most surprisingly of all, a pretty damn good narrative. While the combat was a little bit lacking compared to everything else, I still highly suggest that you check out Bomb Rush Cyberfunk, especially if you were a fan of Jet Set Radio. Alright, you knew it was coming at some point, folks. One of the great games of this year, a fantastic tribute to the past, excellent 16-bit style JRPG, Sea of Stars, with such a compelling, wonderful narrative. I wasn't so much surprised by that or the excellent soundtrack. No, I was more surprised by the actual combat engine. This game is tough, but Sea of Stars is not really so much about the grind as it is the element of strategy to a degree. It's not a strategy game per se, it still has that nice turn-based feel, but you do have to think through your moves more than you do in a lot of other classic JRPGs where you can kind of just power your way through them. But also, how about the puzzles, right? They're pretty damn good, and there's even some platforming, way more than I was expecting. Everything for the most part is really well executed in Sea of Stars. It really delivered on most of what it had set out to do. Yeah, the limited fast travel system and the challenging battles may not be for everyone, but I still think this is a real indie classic and one of the best games of the year. Never has Ugly been so beautiful. Yes, indeed, Ugly is the next game on our list, a critically overlooked puzzle platformer. Just a brilliant title that was released this year. Ugly has a surprisingly powerful message behind its narrative, but also features a really unique mirror puzzle mechanic, and it leads to some of the more clever solutions I've seen in almost any puzzle game that I've ever played. I really wish more people were talking about Ugly, but I'm gonna do my part to shout it out here on this list with its satisfying gameplay, absolutely stunning soundtrack, and a great hint system for accessibility, along with that beautiful art. Ugly is indeed very beautiful on the inside. Eternights takes place in a horrific fantasy world and draws great inspiration from the Persona series. While it could have easily fallen into the classic indie trap of trying to do too much on a smaller budget, Eternights proved everyone wrong by offering fantastic combat, great romance elements, and a truly compelling story. I was shocked how well done the sim elements were, and with memorable characters, it's easy to forgive the mediocre visuals and some of the difficult timings in battle. A great game worthy of this list. No clowning around, Vlad Circus, descendant to madness, left our very own Stormy Day on the edge of her seat. Not for the faint of heart, Vlad Circus touches on difficult themes through its wonderfully written story and offers sick and twisted pixel art that will send a shiver down your spine. The puzzles are fun and the characters are sympathetic, but the dark themes certainly won't be for everyone. If you are down for its bleak world, however, Vlad Circus will suck you in and grasp you by the throat until the credits roll. World of Horror, developed by Panstaz, finally released out of early access this year, and it didn't disappoint. Its unique blend of retro graphics and Lovecraftian horror left us dazzled. Set in a small Japanese town, this pixelated nightmare draws inspiration from the works of H.P. Lovecraft and Junji Ito, bringing about a bone-chilling experience that keeps you on your toes. The game's distinct art style, reminiscent of old-school point-and-click adventures, adds an eerie charm that perfectly complements its gruesome themes. With its atmospheric visuals, compelling gameplay, and branching narratives, this Lovecraftian horror will surely leave you sleeping with one eye open. And lastly, the most recent game on this list is the exceptional tower climbing adventure Jusant. Jusant is a uniquely thrilling experience which combines beautiful graphics, engaging gameplay, and an immersive story to create an unforgettable indie gaming experience. The puzzles are challenging but never frustrating, and they range from simple brain teasers to requiring careful planning and strategy. Such a beautiful game that is capable of bringing tears to your eyes without saying a single word. So there you have it, folks, 10 more awesome indies, and we're not even close to done yet. Thank you so much for supporting us here at I Dream of Indie Games. Patreon.com/idreamofindiegames if you want to support independent content further. Voice to the voiceless, and we will see you on the channel.